Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pinstripe Prospects Podcast, episode number 26 of season number 2. Happy to be back with you once again this week. I'm Ricky Keeler. We have an exciting amount of Yankees coverage to get into this week. Recording as Game 2 of the doubleheader is finishing up between the Yankees and the Phillies. So, of course, we'll talk about our impressions of a 7-inning doubleheader toward the end of the show. First time the Yankees have been involved in that. We've seen so much Yankee action since last Tuesday. 2 games in Baltimore, 3 games with the Red Sox. All 5 of those are wins. We saw the win over the Phillies on Monday, and then so far 1 loss in the doubleheader. So we got so much to get into. Tommy Kahnle goes on the IL. How big of a loss is that for the Yankees bullpen? We talk about Aaron Judge's hot start to the season with 7 home runs as we do this show. We'll do a little 3 positives and 3 negatives from this week. It's a lot of positives, but also some things to be concerned about, namely the Yankees pitching staff outside of Garrett Cole, and I would say Masahiro Tanaka to a degree. Later, we'll talk about Brooks Kriske and Nick Nelson making their debuts. Both had some good debuts. They didn't have a good second outing, but we'll talk about that a little bit. What to watch for this weekend as the Yankees go to Tampa, and just our takeaways around the game of baseball is where, let's face it, we're 2 weeks in. We only have a few weeks left in the regular season. That's the fun part of 60 games. So we want to remind you can follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Please give a rating. We hope it's 5 stars. We want to hear from you, though. Give us your feedback, what you like, what you don't like. And feel free as well to email me if you have any questions, comments, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. And we'll tell you more about our Dugout subscription program a little later in the show. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. Chances are the Pinstripe Prospects podcast is there. So join me once again this week. My 2 regular co-hosts, James O'Connell is here. James, how you doing?
Doing great, Ricky. Watching some Yankees baseball last week. Where we at 8-1, 8-2 here, wherever the record is. Just kind of going along. Look, there's some concerns, there's some positives, and I kind of can't wait to dive into them in this show here.
And also back in, our great runner of our social media, Alexis Farinacci is here. Alexis, how you doing?
Doing well. Glad to say Florida dodged a little bit of a bullet from that storm. Sorry to hear the Carolinas and you guys got a little pummeled with it up in the New York area, but glad to hear James has power back. Watching some baseball, not a great game 1 of the doubleheader for the Yanks, but watching game 2 here. A lot of positives in this 8-2 start and some negatives also that we'll get into.
Yeah, let's just say the tropical storm that has a name that's hard to pronounce really didn't help a lot. I think it was not a good thing, but glad everybody's back. Hope everybody's staying safe out there with tropical storm, COVID-19, just everything in general. Just stay safe is probably the motto we just give for 2020. But before we get into the particulars, let's go right into it. Alexis, I'll start with you. We'll dive into some specifics, but what are your overall thoughts on this week? Because all in all, outside of game 1 of the doubleheader, it's been a really good week for the Yankees. It just seemed like they found different ways to win.
Yeah, I think offensively, this team is just absolutely locked in. The Bronx Bombers are alive. Aaron Judge with 7 home runs as we speak this season. I think he's just absolutely on fire. Even going 2 for 2 in that game where he didn't homer, and I think he's had a hit in every single game. Offense looks great. I think these guys are having a ton of fun out there. Some pitching staff concerns to be worried about. A couple pitchers who can't get past like the 2nd or 3rd inning, but outside of that, I think the Yankees are on course for a very good season.
Yeah, offense is in cruise control now. They broke the record for most home runs. I'm trying to name the record exactly. In their first 11 games, they've hit a home run. That's the record for the Yankees to start a season. There we go. I got that right. So definitely on a day when Aaron Judge doesn't homer, you get disappointed. That's how you know the role he's on. We'll get into him, though, specifically a little later. James, what about you? What did you make of this week?
Just a kind of an overall strong week. You kind of got that feeling that no matter how you don't know how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, but they're going to win the ball game. Aaron Judge, some ridiculously clutch home runs. Overall, just the big picture, they look great. I'm sure there's some people struggling, but the way baseball works, I don't know if anyone's ever watched the sport before. The way the game works is you're not going to have all 9 guys hitting at once. That's just not how it's going to play out. Yankees Twitter's kind of getting a little bit on my nerves with the panic over certain players and certain this, certain that. So overall, big picture, like what I see. team just looks like they really know how to win ball games.
I mean, can we just say this? You're not going to go 59-1 in a season. Now, does it frustrate you that you're up 3-0 in game one and you don't win? Yeah, I think you have a right to be somewhat frustrated, but you can't blow the panic meter over one game. You're going to have bad games like that. 60 games, 162 games, whatever. That's just the way it goes.
It's frustrating. It's sure, like losing any game is frustrating, but when you see people hitting the panic button on the second regular season loss of the year when they play 10 games, it kind of makes you be like, well, am I speaking with people who have ever watched the full season of Major League Baseball? It's actually a little bit ridiculous how the amount of panic I see from a bad inning, a bad at bat. It's just everyone's got to really slow down with the wild takes here. This is a good team, and they're off to an 8-2 start. Let's really keep it at that.
Now there are three guys that I'm going to push the little bit of panic button on for the Yankees, so I'll go in that later, but not really big severe panic mode where I'm like going to say it's going to really mess with the Yankees' plans for a championship as of right now. But we'll get into that later. Let's get to the main Yankee news of the week. And that was Tommy Kahnle having Tommy John surgery. It was after Thursday night's game. Tommy Kahnle was not used in that comeback win over the Orioles. And Aaron Boone said, I'm going to have more tomorrow. And honestly, with this time, you would think, uh-oh, something's really wrong. And it wasn't COVID-19. It was a torn UCL. Not exactly what you want to hear. He had that great only appearance this year against the Nationals where he used all those changeups to get out of the bases loaded jam in the series finale. So, James, I'll start with you. How big of a loss is it now, even though Chapman has been throwing at the alternate site and should be back, maybe not soon, but in due time, to now not have Tommy Kahnle for the rest of the year?
As far as a personnel standpoint, where like, can the Yankees withstand this loss on the field? Yeah, sure, of course. I'm not really all too concerned about it. Of course, it takes away from some of the depth this team has. As Mike Talkman here, I know we said we're not talking about the game. The Yankees just took the lead in the top of the seventh, but Tommy Kahnle, it is a big loss on the field in a sense, but they can sustain that loss. Where it's going to hurt them, I think, is in that clubhouse, that energy in that dugout where you're Tommy Kahnle screaming over a big hitter, screaming over really anything in general. The guy's out of his mind, but he's just really a great guy to have in that clubhouse. And for him to not really be a part of this year, it's going to be a bigger loss off the field than it really is on it.
And Alexis, I think what helps for the Yankee bullpen is that a lot of teams have certain guys like, this is the seventh, this is the eighth, this is the ninth, and at least for the foreseeable future, Zach Britton's your closer. You know that. But the Yankees don't really have set roles where they can play around with different matchups, different guys. Where, losing Kahnle is a big deal, but there's not exactly like the next guy gets promoted to the next inning. Boone's still going to be creative. And honestly, in the first 11 games or so, the Yankees really haven't had a situation where they've had to use all three of their big relievers outside of a game or two.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think, too, though, I feel like it's kind of become routine of the setup of Chad Green to Zach Britton. I think we've kind of seen Green step in as that setup guy, if he's not going to be a long relief guy. And I've liked seeing that little transition from Green to Britton. I think it's a good one for the Yankees to have and for Boone to be able to use. I think that's set up well so far. But, yeah, you just look at the depth of the Yankees bullpen overall, and I think it's a really stacked bullpen. I agree with James. I think that personality, as we see Gary Sanchez get smacked with a ball on the shoulder, I think we see a depth in the Yankees bullpen that is unlike any other club, and I think that's really going to help. But I think Kahnle's personality, is going to be missed a lot in that clubhouse.
And you look at that Yankee bullpen as a whole. You mentioned outside of the big three, Luis Avilan, who's done a pretty nice job for this team. David Hale had a save on Saturday, which was weird to see Zach Britton not save a game with the Yankees. Actually had a save situation, but he got the job done. You've seen some of the kids come in and do well, and we'll talk about that more later. But I think it begs another question, Alexis, while the Yankees wait for Chapman to come back. Should more be asked of the starting pitching? Garrett Cole's done a nice job. He's gone 6 innings in every game. He's, I wouldn't say been his A stuff, but his A-, B+ stuff. Tanaka's working his way back, but now is this the time where you now need to ask guys like Paxton and Happ and Tanaka, maybe not Montgomery yet, but now I'm going to need 6 innings a night so I don't overwork a lot of these big three in the bullpen until I get Chapman back and can sort things out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Garrett Cole is right on course. All these guys are still building up. And I like where he's at. I think he's, for having his A- to B+ type stuff recently, he's finding a way to still get the job done and to really hold runs to a limited number for the opposing teams. I think Jordan Montgomery, he's done a really, really nice job. I think guys like Paxton, you see some concern out of. Jay Happ today, I think we see some concern out of. Masahiro's coming back. So I think, Masahiro and Jordan Montgomery and Garrett Cole, I think, yeah, those guys need to be going deeper into games. Maybe not Masahiro right away. But I look at it as a Paxton and a Happ, and I see some concern there of something needs to be figured out with those two.
And Montgomery was very good on Friday, 5 2/3, 1 run, 5 hits, struck out 4, walked 1 in that win over the Red Sox. But James, I think it leads to you need these guys, and Tanaka has time to build up, but you need some nights where the starter just goes 6 or 7 innings. That's hard to do now. I think in this 60-game season, you're not seeing many teams do that in general, but you're going to need more length out of starters, especially when the Yankees have a pair of 7-inning doubleheaders this week.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that I'll give you the 3 guys that I'm not concerned about right now. I'm not concerned about Garrett Cole. Obviously, he hasn't had his A+ stuff. I said it last week. He hasn't had his A+ stuff yet, and his ERA is like sub 3, sub 2.5, whatever. Jordan Montgomery has looked great, and I do think he can give you some length at some point. He went, it was 5 2/3 the other day, or 5 innings or whatnot. But if I remember correctly, I think it could have gone a little bit longer. He got pulled a little early. And Masahiro Tanaka, that's the third guy I'm really just not concerned about in any aspect. I think he, give him the ball in any big game, he can be your number 2 starter. That doesn't really matter to me. I'm not really putting a lot of stock in Masahiro Tanaka's regular season, but here's where I am concerned. I think the inevitable is that J Happ stinks. I think we've all known that for a year or two. Am I concerned about J Happ? No, but I just think point blank he stinks. He's not a good pitcher. You can't throw 91 up in the zone and expect to get outs. And to that point, there's another left-hander who's trying to throw 91 up in the zone and get outs, and James Paxton. I kind of expressed my concerns with him last week, that the dip in velocity, the back surgery, the whatever. This is really not good. What we're seeing here from James Paxton is very concerning. That he's topping out at like 93, 94. If you saw last season, 93, 94 was almost rare for James Paxton at any point, even early in the game. Even in a bullpen session, I bet you 93, 94 was rare. That's an upper 90s guy that all of a sudden is trying to adjust to having a very mediocre fastball. And I don't think he's going to be able to make that adjustment in a 60-game season. And I don't think we're going to see that velocity come back over the next couple of weeks. It's really concerning. And honestly, the Yankees are going to have to go out and grab a starter. I hate to say it, but they really do.
So let's dive into this a little more, because I know what you're saying, but let's dive into Paxton and Happ now. And I think let's start with Paxton first, who I think, Alexis, when you read his comments, it just seems he talks about he's got to find the mechanics and he's close and he's going to find it. But I think you start to worry with him. And James, you might remember, because I think during the pandemic and the shutdown, I mentioned that the Yankees need James Paxton. I thought he was the most important Yankee to this team because they needed him to be the second half James Paxton. Alexis, I'm a little bit worried that, I know he hasn't said it, I'm a little more worried it's mental for Paxton than mechanical.
Yeah, I think it's definitely mental, especially these past 2 games, not being able to get out of 3 innings. I think you get down on yourself for something like that. You want to be able to produce more as a veteran pitcher. And the fact that he's not doing it, I think, yes, he is concerned. I think there is some mechanical there, but I agree with you 100% that there's also got to be a mental piece to that. He's down on himself for not being able to go deep and not being able to produce for his team.
Yeah, I think also, James, when you look at it too, I mean, this is a guy, and I think I'll do the same with Happ. I think you got to give him one more. Paxton gets the start Sunday against Tampa Bay. You've got to see some significant improvement. He doesn't have to be dominant, but he at least has to get you through 5 innings, especially after the Yankees play a pair of games on Saturday in that second 7-game doubleheader of the week.
To be honest, I don't think you have to. Did you say you have to give Jay Happ one more? You think?
No, I said Paxton one more.
Thank God.
I can make the
I
I
think you
can
said
I
Jay
can make
Happ.
the argument
Yeah.
for Hap, but I'll leave.
No, please don't do that because given his contract situation, where where that innings limit, and just how bad he is, he does not deserve even another inning, unless it's out of the bullpen and they're down 15 runs or up 15 runs. I am tired of seeing Jay Happ, and I am very concerned with James Paxton. I don't think it's mental because, well, okay, so it's to a certain degree, I do think the loss of velocity is eating at him mentally for sure, but losing 5 miles an hour isn't mental. That is a physical issue that has to be addressed. Is it the back? Because Aaron Boone said he has not had that velocity since spring training, and if you remember, they were hiding James Paxton from the media, from the public. You did not see James Paxton in any of those televised games. I don't know, man. Of course, you give Paxton another shot. You give him as many shots as you can for him to figure it out. Because at the end of the day, he's crucial to the team, or else you have to go out and pay a ridiculous price for a starting pitcher with 20 to pitch you 3 games into a postseason. Yeah, I'm not. You give Paxton as many opportunities as you can, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to come to the conclusion that this guy really might not be what he was post-surgery, because how many times have we seen that in sports where someone gets surgery, they come back, and they're just not the same? Yeah, it's concerning, but for sure, give him as many shots as you need to figure it out, but realize that you're dealing with a very special circumstance.
Yeah, I do think it's more mechanical than mental, but I do think there's a part of it that has to be in his mind, especially if he has one more bad game this weekend. I think it's going to start, the percentages of mechanical and mental are going to start to even themselves out. Let me make the argument on Hap. He was awful on Wednesday. Plain and simple, you can't walk 6 guys in 3 innings and have it not be called awful. He missed out an 0-2 pitch to Harper, crushed it to right. In both starts, the Yankees have given Jay Happ big leads that he's ultimately given away, or allowed the other team to get back in it to where the Yankees almost gave it away. To me, I think, though, you look at it, both times Jay Happ's taken the ball have been without 5 days rest. It's usually been 6 or 7. We know pitchers are creatures of habit, so you can make the case that Happ hasn't been on a normal routine, which I guess everybody's not on normal routine. I'm trying to make the argument for him, because I know the Yankees, everyone's going to call for Clark Schmidt, everyone's going to call for David Garcia. The Yankees haven't really used any top prospect to be a big starter in a while. I mean, you think about it, Loiza's been mainly an opener. Kurt Nelson has been mainly an opener or a reliever. Krisky, who is a natural reliever, is a reliever. When's the last time the Yankees have called up a big-time starting pitching prospect and used him as a starter and not as an opener or something like that?
I guess so. Date back to 2016 with Luis Severino, right? That's probably the last time that really happened. But at the end of the day, I'm not really calling for Clark Schmidt or Davies. Sorry, I am calling for Clark Schmidt. I'm not calling Davies Garcia. But it's just that I don't want to see Jay Happ. It's really that simple. I don't care who you put out there, how you put him out there, how you put the innings together. Get Jay Happ off of my television and off of that pitching mound. Get him out. He is horrible. And he had that decent run, not decent. He was actually fantastic with the Yankees in 2018. But as soon as JD Martinez dunked that 3-run home run over the first row of the Green Monster in Game 1 of the LDS, something changed with him. He was getting lit up like a Christmas tree, left and right, from 2018 on, and it's continuing to 2020. He looked good in spring training, sure, but there are a lot of guys who look good in spring training and end up stinking. And this is a guy who stinks. Jay Happ is bad. He's a bad, bad pitcher. He doesn't have any sort of electric stuff. He doesn't have a good fastball. He has whatever his breaking pitches are. He is horrible. Get him off of that mound. I don't care who you put out there, Luis Cessa, Loizaga. You can grab a guy off the street, just not Jay Happ. That's it.
We know how James feels about Jay Happ. That's plain and simple. But I think the big thing, I think, to look at, Alex, especially with Happ, the one thing I was really concerned with, he's a guy who relies on location. The fact that I get he's perturbed Angel Hernandez today, and he didn't mention it in the post game, which is the classic thing to do. But he had a bases loaded walk on 4 pitches where it just seemed like he kept throwing the same pitch to make a point that he wasn't getting the call. Like at some point as a veteran pitcher, you have to adjust, and that's one of the main things that worries me with Happ. He didn't change anything.
No, I mean, he didn't change. It seems like he hasn't changed anything from the offseason either. He just, like, no matter what, let's just call it how it is. He does not have good stuff to get outs anymore. I don't know if he did, I'm sure, but like from 2018 on or whichever year it was where he was great, 2018, from that point on, he has not had pitches that could get people out. It was inevitable that he'll give up 5 runs in a minimum of 3 innings at any point, and it's still inevitable. This guy stinks. I'm done with him. Get him out of here.
Alexis, I'll let you chime in on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, Angel Hernandez is not going to give you that call. Go to a different spot. Just try to attack the batter and get it out. I don't think any of us were really happy with him in that last game. The umpiring, who is happy with that guy most of the time. But if you're J Happ, you need to find a way to get yourself out of the inning and not walk in a run. There's no excuse for a pitcher to walk in a run. That's not excusable.
So after all that negative stuff around Happ, let's get into some positives. Aaron Judge. He just, like I said, it's every day that Aaron Judge doesn't hit a home run seems disappointing to Yankee fans. That's just the kind of run he's on right now, up to 7 home runs as we do this show. And Alexis, I'll start with you here. It just seems like the fact that he comes out after that big game-winning 2-run homer in the 8th inning Sunday night and says, I'm not locked in yet, that's going to be scary for the league. I forget which one of you picked him for MVP, but whoever did, you're looking right so far.
I think we all picked him for MVP, or at least James and I both did.
I did not. Okay, both of you did.
Freezing cold takes. I don't want to bring it up.
But yeah, if this is what Aaron Judge calls not locked in, wow. If I'm the AL East and even whoever we're playing in the playoffs, I'm scared of what that means. He said it in his press conference. Locked in for him means he's going 5 for 5. He's not swinging outside of the zone. So, he's really trying to still work on some mechanical things and some command at bat and having control of what he's swinging at and what he's letting go. But yeah, 7 home runs already in this game or in this season and pretty much a hit per game at least. This guy is completely locked in from our eyes, and to him not, yeah, I'm afraid for what's coming.
And his home runs most of the time are either tying it or getting the go-ahead hit, or he just finds a way to get big hits. Even in the game 1 of the doubleheader on Wednesday, he hits a 3-run homer to get him back in the game. The Yankees nearly somehow pulled off an 8-run comeback. He just finds a way to spark the team with the way he's performing in these clutch situations. He's basically LeMahieu with long balls.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that everyone really thought. I expressed my concerns with him in the offseason, just health related. But there's no doubt when this man's healthy that he's a top 5 talent in this game, top whatever talent in this game. There's not many guys who can affect the outcome of the ball game like Aaron Judge out in right field, out the plate. This is a generational talent. This is a future Yankee captain. I hate to jump the gun, but I'm pretty sure I said that in the offseason. Like the 10 games haven't changed that. My stance on Aaron Judge hasn't changed since he got called up in 2016. Never mind what he was doing in 2017. This is a generational talent who is finally healthy. This is what Aaron Judge looks like as a healthy baseball player. He wasn't healthy last year. He wasn't healthy the year before that. But this is a fully healthy Aaron Judge, and we should be privileged that we're able to watch it right now because this man can do special things on that diamond.
And I'll throw this out to both of you. The one thing I think I noticed the way Aaron Judge is performing, I go back to that game last Thursday in Baltimore, and he's up at the plate. The Yankees are trailing in the top of the 9th, and he takes the 2-1 pitch from, I think it was Cole Sussler. And in past years when Judge was struggling, that would have been a strike. And it was kind of close to being a strike, but that gets him the 3-1 pitch. Sussler, for some reason, throws him a breaking ball to 3-1 pitch, and Judge just absolutely tattoos it to left. Whichever you want to chime in on this, I think really look at the fact that the low strike isn't being called on Judge right now. When that pitch is basically taken away as a ball, that completely changes the game plan and makes Aaron Judge into a better hitter.
For sure, I have noticed that, and he used to get holes on those low strikes last year, the year before. I'm hoping that someone made it a point because we always kind of thought. I remember saying on Twitter last year, writing it and whatnot, that it's probably going to take an Aaron Judge ejection for him to finally start getting some respect on those low strike calls. But hopefully, someone said something to these umpires that, hey, this guy's getting absolutely torched on that low strike. He's 6'7". It was frustrating to watch, but it's really nice to see that he's kind of getting that respect in the batter's box that he deserves. He's a top tier talent in this game, and he does not deserve. He's not some rookie where you just against some Cy Young Award winner every time you give him calls that are close and whatnot. This is a premier talent in this game that deserves the benefit of the doubt on a lot of these calls. I'm very happy to see where the strike zone is for this man this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think he's getting fair at bats. I think he's got a lot of control at bat now. He's not swinging as much out of the zone and just really, really, really locked in. Definitely a class act out there in the field and at the plate.
So looking at it now from the Yankees, you talked about Judge. I want to kind of dive into some specific things a little bit more. So we haven't come up with a cool name with it. We'll take any thought. If you guys want to have a cool name for this, and we'll try to do it every week, a little three up, three down kind of thing. I know many places have used that or whatever, but something along those lines. You've got a cool name for it, send it to us. James, I'll start with you. What about who gets your 3 up this week?
My 3 up this week. So I guess we'll start with Garrett Cole, right? Again, not having his A+ stuff for the second or third time this year, and he's still kind of fighting through it. Let's see, what else we got? You know what? Go to Alexa first, and I'll get back to you.
All right, Alexis, basically 3 positive things about the Yankees this week. There could be player, could be situation, could be anything, pretty much.
Oh man, I mean, definitely got to go Garrett Cole. I think he's been very well, done very well since the season started. The cliche, even though he doesn't have his best stuff per se, I think he's still producing very, very well for the Yankees. I think you look at Aaron Judge. Is definitely one of my top 3s this week. And Gio Urshela. Gio Urshela is coming out of his shell. Has had quite a few RBIs. And made some really big plays in the field. Had that play at third last week, a couple of days ago. He's someone who's having fun out there and is locking in as well.
All right, so I'll give my 3 positive for this week. Aaron Judge I'll go DJ LeMahieu because it just seems like he finds a way to get hits all the time.
How we haven't talked about him yet is crazy.
Well, I think it's just now we just assume that every day DJ LeMahieu is going to have 2 hits, and he's
natural. He's
going to make big plays, and he's hitting .459. He's now on that 400 watch everybody loves to talk about, so he's definitely on the driver's seat at number 1. I like the Urshela pick, Alexis. I thought that was really good. He just seems to find some big spots. Had the grand slam on Saturday, which I think is a bigger point. I'm going to get into a little bit the negatives with the Yankees, even though it's not that quite big a negative, but it's something to talk about. Number 2, I'm going to go Mike Tauchman. Gets the big hit in tonight's game, too. Now that it's final, we can talk about it a little bit more. But this is a guy that whenever he gets in the lineup, he seems to put a couple hits together. And he's a guy that's used to getting sparse playing time and still finds a way to make things happen. We've seen Miguel Andujar kind of struggles without getting that significant playing time. Mike Ford is 2 for 10 at the plate. So you see guys that kind of maybe struggle to find that time. And in a lineup where you're not going to get as many chances, Tauchman, when he gets those chances, delivers. And that's number 2. And number 3, I'll dive into. I'm going to go David Hale. I thought David Hale did a really nice job on Saturday against the Red Sox. Remember, this is a game where I was convinced that Aaron Boone, even though I don't know why Zach Britton was not available Saturday night for a save when he hadn't pitched in a while. To me, that was a little bit confusing. But still, for David Hale to actually pick up a save, which he doesn't get many saves in his career, I have to give the benefit of the doubt that somehow if you told me the Yankees were going to use Hale, Avilan, Nick Nelson behind Masahiro Tanaka and find a way to win, albeit that's how pretty bad the Red Sox are right now. But David Hale picking up just the 3rd save of his career, I think deserves to be in the 3 positives this week.
You can come back to me now. I'm ready.
All right, go ahead, James.
So obviously I have the Garrett Cole pick. Now I'm going to go Jonathan Loizaga. he's really been effective out of that bullpen this year with his little 3 inning runs or two inning runs, and he's kept the damage relatively low. It's an odd role they have him in here, kind of just like a half starter, half reliever role. But I have liked what I've seen from Loizaga from the adjustments here. But the one thing I would like to see is he developed kind of an out pitch. He really is really lacking people putting people away. But regardless, and the third guy here, I'm gonna go Luke Voigt. People forgot just how good of a hitter he was, and people still forget just how good of a hitter he is. This is a legitimate hitter. This is a legitimate guy who can hit a number of home runs for you, can get on base, put together good at bats. He hit another big home run in tonight's game against the Phillies. So I'm gonna go Luke Voigt as third positive. He's really kind of been that guy that we all have been accustomed to since he's been in pinstripes.
Luke Voigt basically saved 2 games. You think about it, he saved that game against the Nationals in the series finale, and you can make the argument that if he didn't homer off Aaron Nola was going to throw a complete game and strike out 14, 15 guys.
Yeah.
That's just the way Aaron Nola was, and you can't blame the Yankees for it. That's just the kind of talent that Aaron Nola is. But Voigt made him throw more pitches. That caused the Phillies to have to go to the bullpen in the 7th inning, and that's how the Yankees ultimately picked up the winning Game 2 of that doubleheader. So we've had 3 positives. Now it's 3 negatives, and I'll go first here. Number 1, or 3 down in a way. I'm going to go Gary Sanchez. I know Michael Kay was trying to calm people's nerves on Gary Sanchez by showing the splits from the first half, second half last year. Splits are basically a full season this year, Mr. K, and Gary Sanchez looks lost. He didn't exactly get any better. Now, he did have a double and an RBI in that Sunday night game against the Red Sox. Besides that, he just can't find it. Marley Rivera had a great stat. She writes about baseball for ESPN, mostly covers the Yankees. The Yankees were 23rd in the league in strikeouts. They could be toward the bottom, really the bottom of the league, if Gary Sanchez's numbers were not included. It just seems like every time he comes up, it's a strikeout at this point. He doesn't even put the ball in play. And I'm not saying play Kagashioka, but this is what you expect with Gary Sanchez, is you seeing the struggles at the plate. So to me, Gary Sanchez has to be the number 1 for me. Number 2, I'm going to go with Gleyber Torres here. Because I'm not panicking about Gleyber Torres. I've had a lot of freezing cold takes, as James has pointed out on the show, and one might be Gleyber Torres. But to me, I think right now he just has to find himself. I'm not concerned about him slumping. Everybody's going to slump. We've seen that, guys like Christian Yelich and Pete Alonso and the other borough here in New York. But Gleyber's going to find it. It's only a matter of time, like you said at the top of the show. Not all 9 guys can click at the same time, so maybe Torres can find a way to help out at some point down the line. And number 3, I'm going to go with Paxton, because I think while the Yankees did come back, it was just more like you're facing a Red Sox lineup that was struggling through the bulk of this early part of the season. And Xander Bogaerts really did the bulk of the damage. You could argue Miguel Andujar's bad error in left field led to more runs too. But the fact that they need Paxton, they really need Paxton. I think he'll hit my 3rd down for me. But man, Gary Sanchez would get 1, 2, and 3 if I could do it. Alexis, what do you think?
My 3 down, man. I got to go Paxton. I just haven't liked the way he's looked. He can find it, great. If not, I think it's time to start looking to the alternate site. So Paxton, got to go Hap. Haven't been impressed with him. And then, yeah, unfortunately, Gary Sanchez just not producing at the plate. He's had a couple good swings. Looks like he's starting to maybe try to find it, but I think there's more there that needs to happen.
Tough to go 3 down when a team's 8-2, James, but there are 3 down. So yeah, I'm really gonna go with the same 3, the same 3 as you guys for the most part, except with the exception of Ricky. I'm gonna go obviously James Paxton. Real concerned with the loss of velocity. We touched on that before. J Happ, need I say more? He's just so freaking bad. And I gotta go Gary. Has anyone ever actually just sat down and just thought about what the hell happened to this guy? What happened? This is a bona fide 270, 40-plus home run guy, and out of nowhere, now you're looking for a starting catcher. Now you're looking for someone to fill that void. It's scary. I don't know when this happened, all of a sudden, 2018, he kind of just fell off the face of the earth. He had that injury-riddled season. He's batting 190 or something really ridiculous. He just hasn't recovered. It's scary to think about. The Yankees might be looking for a catcher in the near future. And this isn't kind of a knee-jerk reaction here. This has been now, at this point, the third year of this type of Gary Sanchez. It's not pretty. It's really not. And he's for such a talented guy. You got to hope he figures it out, because he would, from the guy that we seen, the guy that we saw, he would be such a talent, such a good person having him in that lineup. It's a shame what's happened to Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, it's a mess. And again, you can't call for Higashioka because he's a nice backup, but you saw even in game one, he made some mistakes on the bases and defensively, and that's really what his strength would be compared to Sanchez. I mean, Sanchez is not the greatest defensive catcher. Basically, Sanchez is a bonus for the Yankees because not a lot of teams get offense from their catcher unless their name is JT Realmuto, but they need him to hit. They need him to get, even if it's just a timely hit, even if it's just like to move a runner over, do something. Like, even if you hit a fly out to right, I'm happy at this point. Like, at least you put the ball in play. You can basically predict a Gary Sanchez strikeout practically every time he comes to bat.
Yeah, it's, I was watching, I forget which game with a couple of my buddies, and we're talking, we're like, oh, this guy's up, that guy's up, and then, there's a third out. Like, Gary Sanchez, whenever he gets up, he's the third out of the inning. He's the second out of the inning. He's an automatic out, whichever way you put it together. Strikeout, fly out, and the ugliest at-bats, too. They're really just disgusting to watch. You throw him 3 straight sliders in the dirt, then you don't even have to really worry about anything else. He's heading back to the dugout. Let's just go back. 2016, almost a three in 53 games, almost a 300 hitter, 20 home runs in 53 games. All right, fine, small sample size. But then he comes back in 2017, 280, 33 homers, 90 RBIs in 122 games, close to 900 OPS. That's the best catcher in baseball. That's what that is. Then 2018, 186 average, 89 games. 2019, 232, sure. He had the 34 home runs. He had a 316 OBP. That's not going to cut it. And now here we are. He's batting like .03 or whatever he is. It's just really the ugly. And I cannot stress enough how ugly these at-bats are. They're really ugly. Like, there's just no signs of life. So Gary Sanchez, man, God bless you. Figure it out somehow, some way, because we are going to need his production at some point. Like I said earlier, you're not going to have all 9 guys, all 8 guys or whatever hit at once, but everyone has to have their moments here and there. And it doesn't even look like Gary's close. He looks like he belongs at the alternate training site. I don't know. I've lost all confidence in him.
Anybody here have a high concern level for Torres? I'll throw the stat. Max Goodman from Sports Illustrated had it since that series finale against the Nationals, where he basically won that game for the Yankees. 2 for 24, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts.
No concern whatsoever.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah. I'm not that concerned with Torres quite yet.
I'm not either. You have to throw that stat. If we're going to rip Sanchez, I think.
For sure, but just not even in the slightest. This is another one. This is a generational talent that we'll figure it out. But
you have to wonder too if the
just one takeaway.
The elbow played a part in it too.
Maybe, but at the end of the day, I do think overall he's more comfortable as a second baseman, and I do think that's where he belongs. So let's see what the Yankees kind of do there.
So here at Pinstripe Prospects, we provide exclusive minor league content to our paid subscribers with our new Dugout membership program. You can get scouting reports, play interviews, features. In addition to some of our free Major League coverage, you can sign up today for our Dugout membership program for either $5.50 a month or $40 a year. It's that simple. So if you're not sure if you'll like us or not, we have a free trial you could do for the first 30 days. You get a 30-day free trial, which is great. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. I'll give you the promo code if I could pull it up here. #WelcomeBackBaseball. So you have to use the hashtag #WelcomeBackBaseball, and you get 30 days free. So if you're not sure about us, try it out. You definitely won't regret it. So since we are a minor league based site, I think it's only fair we highlight some of the Yankees former prospects that got a chance to make their debuts this week. Brooks Kriske, who's now back at the alternate site, made his debut in Baltimore. And while he had a rough night on Monday after the rain delay, which it's weird. The Yankees have so many rain delays that they have to resume games all of a sudden. I thought we were not in for long rain delays, but whatever. Brooks Kriske did get a chance to pitch. I thought pitched well in Baltimore. Nick Nelson, yes, he's going to probably go down with the Yankees going to 28 players in the roster going forward starting Thursday. And he had a rough day on game 1 on Wednesday. But he deserves a lot of credit for what he did Saturday against the Red Sox. I mean, in your major league debut at Yankee Stadium against the Red Sox, yes, it's no fans, but it's still in a huge rivalry. I got to give credit, and Alexis, I'll start with you, to both of those pitchers, that it did produce something for the Yankees in the time that they were here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both Brooks Kriske and Nick Nelson both had phenomenal debuts. Absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, we saw Kriske get a little beat up here in his last outing before he got sent back to Scranton here this week. And, Nelson got pretty beat up today. But they're both rookies. They're both still trying to find their way in the major leagues. I think they both had great debuts. I mean, Aaron Boone had nothing but great things to say about the both of them the days they did debut. So I think they're both guys that are going to be a benefit to our bullpen this year, especially Nelson. I've always really, really liked Nick Nelson since he was in Tampa and I got to see him there. So hopefully, he can figure his way out, after tonight. Maybe we see him go down to Scranton to get some more work in. Or maybe he stays. I don't know. But yeah, I thought they were both phenomenal.
And Nelson paying 96 to Hoskins, I thought was impressive. He had a good command of the zone. Even in Saturday's game against the Red Sox, albeit that lineup struggling, there's still some good hitters in that lineup. You saw what Bogarts did on Sunday. And for Nelson to kind of keep that lineup in check a little bit, that was a good moment. And Kriske for that Orioles game, because that game could easily get to 10, easily get the Orioles back in it, and then you have to use some of those big arms. You see that way too often. Saw that with the Phillies today. They had to use Hector Neris for an out. That probably affected them in game 2. So for Kriske doing that could help the Yankees down the line, saving some of their big arms.
Yeah, overall, not really that impressed with Kriske. I think he doesn't. I'm not really counting on him to play a crucial role on the team. But I do think Nick Nelson has the stuff. I do think he can be an effective pitcher, and he did. He got kind of raw today. Aaron Boone left him out to dry, and there was a lot of weak hits all around. It was getting slapped all around that park today. So overall, fairly impressive. Nick Nelson versus Kriske didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, a lot of ground balls for Nelson in game 1 that honestly I thought he felt you normally have to get 3 outs. He kind of had to get like 10 with the way the defense was playing. Some balls the Phillies just be out with fast runners hitting ground balls that normally could be double plays. So people look at, I think really one of the things you just blame Nelson for is the home run by Real Muto, and be honest, you can't really blame when Real Muto is just that good. So it's not easy for them. But again, I don't think Kriste's playing a significant role on this year's team. It's just nice when you see a kid make his debut and not have a bad game. I mean, it didn't look like that bothered him at all. And you can see the talent that the Yankees have at the back end of their bullpen. Even in the minor leagues, they have so many good young relievers that you could see get called up. And the Yankees, I think, love to put them into these bullpen games where they can make things happen. They'll have a 29th man on Saturday. That'll help them at least maybe add another bullpen arm in the mix. And maybe you see a kid come up or you see Kriske or Nelson again. I mean, it's not official Nelson's going down, but the Yankees, again, have to get this roster down to 28. So even if Nelson wasn't the take one for the team guy on Wednesday, he probably goes back down and the Yankees have to make moves to get to that number. But all in all, I think good performances by both of them at least one time this week and should be highlighted for those outings. Big week for the Yankees this week. Maybe not so much for their playoff chances because we all know I think they got a good stranglehold on that, but they've got a chance to really put some significant gap here between themselves and the Tampa Bay Rays. They play the Rays 4 games in 3 days beginning on Friday. Garrett Cole's going to pitch one of those doubleheader games on Saturday. Right now they have a 4.5 game lead on the Rays, who last I checked were losing to the Red Sox, so that number could be 5. Yeah, they got to check games over, so it was 4.5. So this could be a chance, James, will start with you, a chance for the Yankees in a 60-game season to essentially, dare I say, bury the Rays?
For sure. What you say, you're like 5 games up here, 4 games up here. For sure, you put them to bed. You could kind of win this division pretty early because just how short of a season this is. If you get a sweep here, get up to 8-9 game lead, you could essentially call it a race. That'll probably do it. So Definitely excited to see what Tampa's got. We know they have 3 very talented arms, but I'm excited to see the Yankees at bats go up against them.
Alexis, I think you look at it for the Rays, and right now, I think if you're a Tampa Bay fan, you're not getting any innings from Tyler Glasnow as much, even though Glasnow's pitching well. He's not going deep into games. They got swept by the Orioles. Blake Snell looks terrible, even though Blake Snell said he loves beating the Yankees. It might help if Blake Snell actually performed against somebody before he started talking about beating the Yankees.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good series between the Yankees and the Rays. I know we said it. They can't beat the Red Sox. So if that's the case, I think we're going to have a little bit of fun in Tampa this weekend. Kind of a little upsetting here in Florida that there's no fans in stadiums, or I'd be headed to Tampa this weekend.
Anyone see the matchup for Saturday, the scheduled matchup?
I don't. I know Boone has – hang on.
Spoiler, it's Garrett Cole, Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
Is Glasnow pitching that game, or is he pitching game 2?
As of right now, the schedule from the Score app here, scheduled. We have Paxton going on Friday and Garrett Cole versus Tyler Glasnow on Saturday. So Paxton Snell Friday, it says.
It's Tanaka Snell Friday.
It's a Tanaka Snell Friday, so maybe Cole won't go. But according to the Score app here, we have
Cole Saturday, Paxton is Sunday, and then game 2 is a bullpen.
Okay, and then I think we're gonna get Cole Glasnow on Saturday.
That would be really fun. And I will say for Tampa Bay, I think you have to give them a couple games now that Austin Meadows is back. He had COVID-19. So I think now you saw, I think a couple days ago, how different they are with him in the lineup. He's their kind of spark plug at the top of the lineup, hits home runs, steals bases. I think you need to see the Rays with Meadows before you completely write him off. But man, I don't know how you get swept by the Orioles. Albeit the Orioles played well, but the Orioles aren't exactly beating the new look Marlins, so that did not look good for Tampa Bay at all.
No. Did you see the lineup they were throwing out there? Kind of crazy. With the Marlins let me just check that. Are they like in first place in the NL East?
They're by percentage points in second place, I think.
No.
Percentage points they moved up?
Yeah, are they 6-1?
5-1.
Yeah, they're in first place.
Wow.
I mean, the Miami Marlins are in first place.
They've allowed 1 run in the last 10 days, and that 1 run was allowed. It wasn't charged, but the guy on the mound that gave up the run was Stephen Tarpley.
Yeah, this is interesting to say the least.
Well, and I know we're going with the whole win percentage at the end of the season thing, but I think if you're Manfred, you've got to go with how many games have been played, because like the Marlins, yeah, they're in first place, but they missed a week of games. I think that's a big deal too that you look at. I don't really know if you can count them as being in the lead right now, except for the fact that they're in the lead by win percentage.
Yeah, that's something I think Rob Manfred's going to have to answer, because we didn't get to it yet, but the Cardinals, of course, were the latest team to have the COVID-19 outbreak. I think the number of Cardinals was about 13 people. Yadier Molina was one of the prominent players tested positive, Paul DeJong, and they decided to have their names released publicly. Cardinals aren't playing until Friday, but it sounds like as of right now, we're going to have the first time where every team is going to be playing or in a while on Friday, which is going to be great. And that's going to be, I think, that's why I think we've gone to these 7-inning doubleheaders. We got to try to get as many of these games in as we can. I mean, at the very least, if you have one team that plays 60 and one team that plays 55, 54, it's not the greatest, but it's okay. I mean, think about the teams that have had to be off because they've had the unfortunate luck of playing a team with the outbreak. You look at the Yankees, who had to adjust their schedule and play the Orioles, so they couldn't play the Phillies until this week. You have the Blue Jays, who had to spend the whole weekend in D.C. and not play anybody. You had the Nationals, who took a whole weekend off, took 4 days off, essentially. You have the Tigers, had to take 4 days off, and the Brewers had to take a few days off because they couldn't play the Cardinals this past weekend. This affects a lot of teams and could really indirectly affect the season for a lot of them, because, yes, they're allowed to work out, but it's not the same as playing against opponents. I mean, that's where I think you give the Phillies a lot of credit. In the 3 games we've seen, they've been competitive, and it's really a testament, even the Marlins. I think it's a testament to Joe Girardi and Don Mattingly for getting these guys prepared to play, especially Mattingly, who's playing with a whole new roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the Phillies, man. They have looked pretty good here against the Yankees. Of course, the Yankees are or arguably the best team in baseball. So coming off of that break, the COVID break, so to speak, and kind of jumping into a series against the Yankees and having all games be very competitive, it could have gone either way for the most part. Shout out to them. This is a team that I picked to win the NL East, and I'm not coming off that pick just yet. I do think they have some talented arms. Aaron Nola is a freak. Zach Wheeler can get people out on any given day.
Zach Wheeler has their only 2 wins of the season, by the way.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler, to me, I did see that fastball down on 95 today. I'm used to seeing that at 100, but maybe that could be because of the layoff, I'm not sure. But we'll see. I do feel still pretty decent about my Phillies pick to win that division.
A lot of ground ball outs, too. He got a lot of big double play balls. That first inning to game 1, honestly, he shouldn't have allowed a run. He got bad luck on that Judge broken bat.
For sure.
So that Zach Wheeler had a much better stat line than he did. Really, the one mistake he made was the Gardner. He's been good. And for the Phillies to play close in a night where they play Garrett Cole after 8 days, that's a tall order for anybody. Yeah. And they played respectively. And again, that's testament to Girardi for getting his guys prepared when they were allowed to work out over the weekend. But still, it's not easy to get ready and play a game.
Yeah.
I will say is a lot of things we get into looking at baseball this week. I mean, at the very least, you don't have the whole thing now where I know we're still worried about the season finishing. We kind of now with the Cardinals outbreak kind of contained. At least now we're going to have everybody playing, it looks like, this weekend. So we're starting to get there. There's so much we can get into. A lot of big arms are getting injured. Different players are opting out, some with statements, some just not showing up. I'm looking at you, Cespedes. But Alexis, give me your takeaway from baseball this week. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the teams that have played this week, I think, too, looking at the AL Central, the Minnesota Twins, I think we are on a crash course for a Twins-Yankees rematch. They are 10-2, looked absolutely phenomenal. My guy, Randy Dobnak, who was with a team that I worked for in the past, absolutely lights out today. Did not give up a run at all in his outing. I think they're a team that you got to watch out for. I really like what they've done this week. The first couple games started rocky for them, but they've really picked it back up. And I think it'd be exciting if we see a rematch of Twins-Yankees in the playoffs.
That's honestly a 3-team race, too, in the Central. White Sox have been good, and the Shane Bieber's still lighting up for the Indians.
Yeah, so I think we've got a few really good races on our hands. Oakland versus Houston. Of course, Houston, the other story that none of us want to really talk about, but they're there. Colorado and the Dodgers, they're neck and neck right now. So, yeah, a lot of good races this week. I think it'll be exciting to finally, like you said, have all the teams actually playing baseball on Friday. I think if you're the Phillies, you're the Brewers, you're kind of frustrated when you hear that the reason your games were postponed are because guys broke protocol. And, as early rumors and reports are coming out saying they went out. Rumors saying the Marlins went to a casino. Derek Jeter saying no, they just went to a store. Whatever it be it, if they went to a casino, yeah, I'm a little upset that that's why my game was postponed, because they couldn't follow rules, which almost makes you think, should they be taken out of the running? If they're not going to follow rules and abide by what everybody else is trying to do to play baseball here, that's a problem.
Yeah, that struck me with baseball, and James, I'll let you chime in on this too, is that if Manfred found in that internal investigation that the Marlins were deliberately breaking the rules, you would have seen discipline. You didn't get that. And I kind of will side with Jeter here. If they're just going to the store or having dinner at a teammate's house or going to the bar at the hotel downstairs, it's what we're doing in our life. We could easily get that going to a friend's house and having dinner. Like, I kind of feel more sympathy for the Marlins than I'm sure a lot of people do. And I didn't like the kind of Manfred pinned the blame on the player, saying I'm not a quitter. I mean, there's equal blame to go around. I mean, we're now seeing baseball tightening the protocols, which they should have been tighter from the beginning. And there was never exactly a set discipline when you did break those protocols. So at least now they've said there could be fines, there could be suspensions, but there was never a set thing to begin with. And I know there was a report about the Cardinals in the casino, I think, that was talked about. But until that's proven, you got the blame, I think, has to be shared equally between Major League Baseball and the players. And they've actually got to figure something out together, albeit that's hard for them to do because they didn't exactly do that with the whole return to play thing.
Yeah, however, the only thing I really want taken away from the situation is just for the players to be careful. I hope this is kind of a wake-up call that any given move that you make, no matter who you are and what team you play for, you could really end up ending this season. So that's really the only thing I want taken away. I can't blame guys for going out and do normal things, and if you're going out, that's like another thing. You have a whole season riding on the fact that you're going to be a little safe with this. But if they're just doing regular everyday activities, you can't. I mean, you can't blame them. So the only thing I want everyone to take away from here is just be careful, be smart. I really want to finish the season. I'm pretty sure everyone wants to finish the season.
On the field, James, what are you looking at from this week?
The Houston Astros. Let's run through it. I know it might be a little hypocritical I'm doing here, but I'm still enjoying it. George Springer, as of right now, 179. Jose Altuve, 156. Alex Bregman, 222. It would be a little bad if I didn't mention Carlos Correa's 395 batting average, but we won't talk about that just for the narrative. It's nice to see these guys struggling, not for nothing. Really enjoying watching them strike out, ground out. However, I'm not used to seeing this. I'm used to seeing every ball thrown from the opposing pitcher put in play, or at least spoiled in some capacity. It's fun to watch them play by the rules here. I'm hoping that this is a product of them not knowing the signs. I want to believe that, but I really don't. But we'll see. The main reason why I bring up the Astros here is because they're in trouble. I really do think they're in trouble, not because of the sign stealing, just because of that Verlander loss. They really don't have any pitching outside of Zach Greinke at this point. Lance McCullers just got lit up for 8 runs against the Arizona Diamondbacks in 3 2/3. Forrest Whitley, I believe, is injured. They're in trouble. They're relying on these weird arms to get some outs. You don't have A.J. Hinch to kind of manage through a game here. You have Dusty Baker. This is a team that's in trouble. I do kind of regret picking them to win the AL West. At this point, I do think it's going to be the Oakland Athletics. So overall, I think the Houston Astros are in deep trouble here, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
The Astros are going to make the playoffs, and it's largely because you're going to get 2 teams from the AL West, and unless the Angels can find any pitching, and without Shohei Ohtani now as a pitcher for the rest of the year, that's going to be tough for them to do, even though they just called up Joe Adell. The Astros are hurt everywhere across the diamond, as you mentioned. Osuna's now out. McCullers is getting shelled. Greinke hasn't looked like himself outside of, Saturday he pitched well, but Verlander being out. They're using a lot of kids in that bullpen. But they're going to make the playoffs, I think, largely because the AL West is bad. And before we get into our final thoughts for this week, anybody have a thought on the Joe Kelly suspension? Because we actually got up right after we got off the air. There had to be a little bit of a Dodgers-Astros incident going on. I should have guessed Joe Kelly. I did not guess Joe Kelly.
Rob Manfred, really so hypocritical. You really are something. You handed Joe Kelly a bigger punishment than you did to any Houston Astros player for cheating. And I really don't even think a lot of the pitches Joe Kelly threw at those guys' heads were intentional. A lot of them were breaking balls. Joe Kelly doesn't know where his ball. He broke his own window of his own house. Joe Kelly doesn't know where his ball is going, although he might have made it seem like that was his intent. But I don't really think that a lot of those pitches that he's throwing at Correa's head and whoever's head were intentional. Maybe Bregman, that got one buzzed right by his ear. I think that had some meaning behind it. But really hypocritical to give Joe Kelly that ridiculous 8-game suspension, a 60-game season for not even really hitting anyone for the most part. It is disgraceful. Rob Manfred, that was just really a joke. You're a joke for even writing that letter out, and that suspension, whatever you did, whatever role you played in it, I'm blaming you because I don't know who else to blame. That was horrible.
Chris Young did hand out that suspension. To me, I would have been okay. Kelly is appealing, and Alexis, I'll get your thoughts on it. I would have been fine if it was at 4. I don't think you could have gave him more than what happened with the Tyler Austin incident where Joe Kelly actually punched a guy. Like that I think I get that you don't want guys throwing people's heads. I don't want that either. I think if you had cut that suspension in half and made it 4 games for a relief pitcher, that's still a good amount. I think you would have. I don't think a lot of people would have been as up in arms. Yeah, you would have had people that went, "Oh, Manfred didn't suspend any Astros," but people could live with, you can't really throw it near the head of somebody. I can live with 4. 8 in a shortened season was way too much.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a little excessive for them to give that big of a punishment to him. I don't think there was any reason for 8 games. Maybe 1 or 2, if that. But 8 games, no, too much.
I only say 4 because of Kelly's past history. Because I think Kelly has, we know from Tyler Lawson, he has a past history of something like this.
Yeah. And I think you do kind of question, I don't necessarily think the first pitch was intentional, but those next couple, yeah, that got a little bit much. Not saying they were intentional, but control your pitches a little bit more. Those were pretty wild. But yeah, I don't think that should have been an 8-game suspension.
Anybody else? We saw the doubleheader today officially. We've seen 2 of them already. Anybody dislike 7-inning doubleheaders? What do we think?
Hate them. The Yankees would have won game 1 and game 2 had there been 9 innings, in my opinion. Hate the 7 innings. Horrible.
I like it better than extra innings because if you're going to have to get these games in, you might as well not use as many pitchers as possible. I think that's now, the key. If you're now going to 28 players for the rest of the year and the playoffs, you can't afford to use all these arms, especially with what's going on. I like this idea better, which, by the way, Alexis, I'm shocked that a lot of people like this extra inning rule. I still hate it.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't liked the extra innings rule since I worked in minor league baseball. I think it's dumb. In some cases, do I think it speeds up the game? Yeah, but in others, no, not a shot. So, yeah, not a fan of that extra innings rule. The 7-inning doubleheader, I can get on board with that. We had that in minor league baseball, too, and I think in a 60-game season, it saves your roster a little bit. Yeah, it's only an additional 4 innings we're missing out on here. But that could mean anywhere between 1 to maybe 2 or even 3 pitchers that a team would have to use extra. And in this quick sprint of a season, I think you try to save your bullpen as much as possible right now and try to not have to dig too deep into it when you're already digging deep in a doubleheader.
And if we have to make up all these games, I think to get to the winning percentages, at least make the winning percentages somewhat fair, the 7 innings is going to be the way you have to do it. That's just the way to get as many games as you can as possible. And it does create some drama. You manage a game a little bit differently. You're bringing in your big guns maybe in the 5th, 6th inning, which is different. It's unique. I wouldn't put it past this year, but I think just for this season, this works better than putting people on second base. You're still playing the same game of baseball. And you think about it for the Yankees, yeah, they could have came back today, but they could have also used a couple more pitchers today, and that could have affected them going into this weekend too. So there's pluses and minuses for both, but I think it makes sense at least for right now. So let's get into the final thoughts again, where we can talk about anything we want. I also mentioned for my baseball take this week, I don't know who to believe. You want Cespedes or the Mets? Cespedes is at fault for not telling anybody. But if you believe Brandon Nimmo's other story that's rumored out there that the agent told the Mets pregame, and then you have Brody putting out the statement saying that he's missing. I don't blame you if you don't trust the Mets. I can't blame you. Cespedes gets the bulk of the blame, but the Mets at least put themselves in a position where they get 20% of the blame because they made it seem like something was in danger with Cespedes, and he just opted out of the season. So it made people freak out that something was seriously wrong in this COVID-19 pandemic. That's a tough thing to do. I get it. I don't know if they're trying to publicly shame Cespedes, and it's been a rough few years with him. That's not the way you do it. That's not the way you do it. And then Brody hung up on the media post game. Not the way you do it either. So not a good look for the Mets, who have been struggling constantly. They did beat the Nationals on Wednesday. All right. So final thoughts, anything we want to talk about, baseball, sports, whatever. James, you go first.
I think you know where I'm going with this.
I do, and I have a good guest for my show that coming up. I'll plug later.
First major of the year tomorrow, PGA Championship in San Francisco. I'm very excited. I have my alarm set for 11 o'clock in the morning for the 11:33 tee time with Tiger Woods, Rory, and who I forget who was it. It doesn't matter. It's Tiger. Tiger's seeing off at 11:33. Real excited for it. It kind of speaks to the point where I was talking about beforehand, that once we kind of somewhat get through this whole pandemic thing, that we're going to hit some stretch of run of sports where we don't even know what to watch. We're in that stretch where I really don't even know what to watch. There's going to be baseball on in the afternoon or short tomorrow. There's going to be basketball on. There's going to be golf. This is awesome. I'm really, really stoked for this PGA Championship tomorrow.
All right, so since I'm going to ask, by the way, on Kicking with Keeler this week, we have Garrett Johnston from golf.com who's live at the PGA Championship. He's going to preview the tournament. That'll air sometime on Thursday. You probably will hear it when the tournament's going on, but to be fair, I'll give the disclaimer, I recorded the night before the PGA Championship. But I'll ask him the same prediction questions I'll ask you, because I really need to know from you. I need a winner, I need a final pairing, and I need a score.
Okay, so for a winner, I'm gonna go with Justin Thomas, only because I believe he's been very, very hot lately. I do think Justin Thomas will be up there and take this thing back. And I'll give you a dark horse. I do like Kevin Kistner. The way the course is playing, from what I'm reading on Twitter, is you really have to be in the fairway, and you have to have very good approach shots. I like Kevin Kistner this week to make some noise. I don't think he's going to win it. I do think Justin Thomas will win it. But final pairing, I'll go Justin Thomas. I'll go Bryson, because how can you not? And I'll go. I want to say Brooks so bad. Just I want to say Brooks. So I'll go Justin Thomas, Brooks, and Bryson. Just because of all the drama going on with Brooks and Bryson, you have to see it.
So you think we're going to get one of these crazy 20 under par, 15 under par? Or are you going to get like
no, I don't think. I think you get some interesting scoring this week, only for the fact that the rough is very thick from what I saw today. And I heard the rough around the green being called as kind of spotty. You can get it a little teed up, or you can get it really deep in there. So I do think we're going to see some interesting. The wind is blowing out there too. San Francisco is cold kind of all the time, so the wind is blowing. It's right on the water. You're going to see some interesting scores. I don't think we're going to see the 20 unders or the 15 under. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see kind of closer to U.S. Open scoring, where it's the winners 3 under, 2 under. So we'll see. I'm excited to watch.
I think the cool thing about it is 9:00 at night on a Sunday, you're watching the final round of a golf tournament.
Oh yeah.
That I think creates a little intrigue, a little buzz, and CBS I'm sure loves it. So they'll see who's around. And again, my interview on Kick 'em Keel this week, Garrett Johnson from golf.com. We'll talk Tiger, we'll talk Brooks, we'll talk everybody. He'll give his pick. We'll have some fun with it, and I'll be tuned into that. Hoping for the best for Tiger, not expecting the best, but hoping for it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how you can't really go playing as little as he have. Just walk into a major championship. Like, here I am. I'm gonna go win. I don't know. But
top 20 would be a success for him this week.
For sure.
All right, so Alexis, now that we've probably bored you with golf, what's your final thought this week?
I mean, I have to agree. I'm excited for the PGA Championship. I do watch a little golf. I'm not as knowledgeable about it as you gentlemen are. But, it's a live sport. I have been to the Honda Classic a few times here in Florida. That's just right up the road from me. And obviously having PGA 45 minutes from me in West Palm Beach. I follow some golf here. But another final thought that I think Rob would appreciate is welcome home to Doug and Bob from SpaceX Endeavor. That was really cool to be able to watch them splash down this week. Just a history in the U.S. and another thing to take everybody's minds off of COVID for a hot second. It's something we need to watch, and obviously everybody be careful with, but I think it was really cool to see America kind of come together for that splashdown this week. So that's one. And then another we'll just plug. I had the opportunity to interview Yankees 4th-round draft pick Beck Way at the end of last week. I'll be editing that interview tomorrow. Hopefully that'll be up either this weekend or by the start of next week. Stay tuned to that. He was a really cool guy, had a lot of great things to say about the Yankees and the draft process this year. So stay tuned to that on pinstripeprospects.com to come.
Yeah, I meant to ask you about that because that's a great get for an interview, and you should definitely read that. What'd you take away from it?
I took away that he's super excited to be a Yankee. He said he wishes he could be in Tampa right now and playing with the Gulf Coast League and really starting up his career. But he really spoke highly of the Yankees staff, specifically their nutritionist and Eric Cressy with Sports Performance, talking about how well they've done with really keeping track of the draftees and what they're doing. He's already on a nutrition program. He's on a weightlifting program, not one where he can throw right now. But he said he's doing a lot of lifting and really staying in shape. And he's really enjoyed the fact that the Yankees have taken time to hop on Zoom calls and Teams calls to really just be there for these guys in this unprecedented time. The whole draft process from being drafted to playing your first game. It's just completely different this year. He's really got a good head on his shoulders, and is making the best out of every opportunity he's been given.
All right, so my final thoughts this week. Again, I'm not going to give a pick because, as James has brought up, I've had a lot of freezing cold takes for baseball. So I am not in a good positive mind to make a pick publicly on this show. I will make it on my own show. I won't make it here because James is going to hold me to it, and he doesn't have the same policy that I have with predictions, where I won't hold people to it. But it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to a big turn. It's going to be a lot of fun. I do think I will say, I'll give you a hint. I do think somebody that's not talked about wins. Just because I think that there's not going to be as much pressure because there's not going to be fans breathing down your back on Sunday at a major, and I think that's a big factor here.
Can I say it?
You want to guess it?
Is it Ricky Fowler?
No.
Well, who is it? You have to tell me now. You can't do it.
I'm thinking Patrick Cantlay.
Okay.
I'm thinking that. Thinking just because he's played well in the last few majors outside of the Open.
Yeah.
He's that guy who's very quietly, you look up at the leaderboard on like Saturday and like he's in the top 10 and you're like, how'd he get there?
Yeah.
I like Morikawa too.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting one. I'm trying to. I know I've heard my guests have talked about Sergio.
Screw Sergio.
Oh, okay. We're gonna. All right. That point now we're not talking about Sergio anymore. But my final thought this week, I'm gonna give some love to Albert Pujols because I'm gonna ask the both of you. Before he hit the homer the other night, how many of you actually knew he was one homer away from tying Willie Mays?
Not me.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the steroid era has kind of changed the way we've looked at home runs, and we don't give it the coverage. We're not breaking in, and we never they're breaking in, but they're not breaking in on ESPN to show Albert Pujols' every at bat. The guy's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's the definition of a professional. He basically was the St. Louis Cardinals for a long time. One of my favorite home runs to watch. I can watch him hit a home run to the train track off Brad Lidge, which I still say kind of wrecked Brad Lidge's career a little bit. Was watching him hit a home run to the train in Houston. But even when he's gone to the Angels, even though he's got that albatross of a contract, yeah, he's battled some injuries. But dare I say, I don't think Angel fans are saying, "Man, I wish we didn't sign him to that contract." And I think that's a testament to what Albert Pujols is. He's a guy that's always going to be respectable. I'm sure he's helped Mike Trout along the way too, as kind of that mentor. I hope he gets a chance to 700. That would be cool. I doubt he has many more seasons after this. Maybe he gets 2 more years of 20 homers and gets to 700, which would be great. But you wonder what the hype could have been if we didn't have the steroid era. And I'm one to put the steroid era guys in the Hall of Fame, but I just wish more people, and I'm sure he'll get the love when he ties and passes Willie Mays. But I just want to give a congratulations to Albert Pujols because it's not talked about really anywhere, and he deserves all the praise that he's going to get.
Yeah, agreed. When he deposited one, was it a grand slam? I forget. I remember seeing a home run on Twitter. Albert Pujols. You kind of forget he exists. But at the end of the day, that's what happens when you're an Angel. But yeah, sure. Kudos Albert Pujols. All-time great. Just it's a shame that he wasted away a lot of time in St. Louis, in Anaheim. But overall, good for him.
And by the way, we told you about Nate Pearson last week, who pitched well in his debut. So we're going to tell you about another rookie, Joe Adell. Top pick of the Angels, got his first hit on Tuesday of that infield single. He's going to play a lot in that outfield. And now you're going to have Justin Upton play DH. So if the Angels are going to make the playoffs, they're going to make it because of their offense. And now you add Adell with Trout and Rendon when he eventually gets going, and Pujols and David Fletcher, who's underrated. The Angels at least should make the playoffs in the American League. I mean, it's going to come down to one of those third-place spots. I don't think the Angels will pass the Astros, but the Angels have the offense to do it. If Joe Madden could just figure out a bullpen or figure out a pitching staff, I mean, that would be great. Mike Trout could get a pitching staff. Mike Trout could use his money to buy a pitching staff. How about that? That would be great.
Shout out Mike Trout for being a father now.
That's it. I mean, he was smart enough to name the kid with the initials Bat. Come on. Way to go, Mike Trout. And he hits his home run first at bat, come back from being a dad. Only Mike Trout could do that.
Shout out to him, man.
So we had a great show this week. I want to thank everybody for hopping on the show. We had a lot of fun over the last hour or so. James, how can they follow you this weekend during your PGA Championship updates and your NBA bubble updates and all that fun stuff?
You can give me a follow at O'Connell NY on Twitter.
By the way, shout out to we give a New York shout out to the Brooklyn Nets, man. They beat the Bucks with nobody. Literally basketball nobodies, and they beat the Bucks. I don't know.
I don't love talking about the Nets, to be honest. I love it.
It beats for me with New York sports. Talk about the Rangers. Alexis, how can they follow you on Twitter with our awesome social media coverage?
You can follow me at Alexis Farinacci. Nice, simple, my name.
And she's doing a good job. She's usually behind all of our great live tweeting during the game. So she's got cool things on our social media account during it. Keeps you entertained. It's a lot of fun. She does a good job promoting all of our work. We have great work on the Pinstripe Prospects site right now. Matt Jarrell wrote a column about Gary Sanchez's rough start. We've talked about it. It's rough. But you should read what Matt has to say, too, because we can't get enough of talking about how bad Gary Sanchez is right now. But you can follow me on Twitter at Rickinator555. It's at RICK, letter I, Nader, like in Terminator, and 3 5s. I got a great show on Kicking with Keeler this week. Last week, I had my brother Matt on to talk about the NBA bubble, and we did a little hockey preview if you missed that. Again, this week, Garrett Johnson from golf.com previews the PGA Championship. I talk a little baseball. You'll get more of my thoughts on Cespedes because I got to talk more Cespedes. And we'll do a little NBA, NHL, and college football because there's a schedule out for a lot of these sports. There's a Big Ten schedule out, and Connecticut's out of football. And they're going to play September 3rd. Yep. Interesting. But we get in that on my show over there on Kicking with Keeler. A lot of fun there. So you can follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We have great stuff on our social media account. Again, remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Please give a rating. We hope it's 5 stars. Tell us what you think. Email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. If you have a name for our 3 takeaways each week, send that too. We'll give you credit. We're all going to try to come up with one. We have only a few weeks left to do it. So try to come up with one. We'll have some fun with it. Remember also, you can get the podcast wherever you get podcasts. Just search Pinstripe Prospects Podcast. It's there. And you get your first 30 days free of our Dugout membership. Remember, use the code #WelcomeBackBaseball. Again, it's #WelcomeBackBaseball. And you get 30 days free. So try us out. Even if you're not sure, just give us 30 days. I think you'll enjoy it. So from all of us here at Pinstripe Prospects, for our founder, Rob Pimpsner, for James O'Connell, for Alexis Farinacci, I'm Ricky Keeler, saying have a great rest of your week. Enjoy Yankees Rays. And we will be back next week to talk more of the Yankees. We'll recap the weekend in Tampa Bay. And then we will look ahead to... Oh, we'll be back next week when they play the... I got to pull this. See, that's why I should have had this prepared. Who the Yankees play after the Rays?
I guess it's as good as mine.
Now we all got to check. Thanks for putting us on the spot.
Atlanta. They play Atlanta, and we'll be back after... During Tuesdays, we'll record after the game usually, so you'll get our takeaways from the first Braves game as well. So, hey, Atlanta comes to the Bronx. That should be fun. Sad they lost Mike Soroka, though. They'll definitely miss him in that rotation. So from all of us, I'm Ricky. Have a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here next time.
Later.